Thanks for stopping by. I'm John Kuzma from EndZoneBlog.com, and Baker Mayfield had it going on in the Cleveland Browns 21-7 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Thursday night football was an AFC North clash between the Steelers and the Browns defense came to play. They held the Steelers offense to only 7 points. They did a great job of pressuring Mason Rudolph. Rudolph actually threw 4 interceptions in this game. And then the other thing that really stood out for Cleveland was how well Baker Mayfield played. So Baker Mayfield got the night started off with like a 48-yard pass to Odell Beckham Jr., and that got the Cleveland Browns down to the 1-yard line. Eventually, Mayfield would punch it in on a quarterback sneak, and Mayfield did not take his foot off the gas either. He kept, pouring it on the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. He hooked up with Kadero Hodge, on a deep play downfield. He also made some big throws to Jarvis Landry throughout the night. So it was a great performance by Baker Mayfield. He put his arm on display, and this is what the Cleveland Browns need from Mayfield if they want to win out, finish 10-6, and maybe clinch a wild card spot. Now, a lot of this was overshadowed by what happened at the end of this game. A brawl broke out between Mason Rudolph and Myles Garrett, and it took an ugly turn when Myles Garrett ripped off Mason Rudolph's helmet and struck him over the head with it. The visual of seeing that happen was so bad that it's completely insane that Myles Garrett let it get to that point. Obviously, he's got to practice some restraint, and for it to happen there on that stage with how much money he's making and with how much he has going for him, that might be a serious red flag, or it is a serious red flag that he might have, some skeletons in his closet. I've been a huge Myles Garrett fan, but there's been some dirty plays from him this season. There's no doubt about it. He's starting to get that reputation, and now he's got to make some changes, or this is going to be the player that he's labeled from here on out. So what this really does is it puts so much pressure on Baker Mayfield going forward, because as confident as he was against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he did a great job last night. On one play, he pump faked to a bubble screen, kept the ball, and then delivered a perfect bomb down the field. It's those plays when he's playing confidently that make him the player that he is. He looked like the same guy who, captured, the world by playing so good at Oklahoma. It looked like the same player last night. He threw 2 touchdowns. I think he had over 200 passing yards as well. But just the way he conducted himself and how many big throws he made vertically down the field, it was the best of Baker Mayfield, and that's why Cleveland got out to an early start in this game and never looked back. But now there's so much pressure on him because Myles Garrett is their best defensive player, and he's probably the best player on this team overall. They're not going to have him for the remainder of the season. He's suspended indefinitely, so for the remainder of the season, and if the Cleveland Browns got to the playoffs, he would not be available. And this is so tough for Cleveland because Baker Mayfield already had to take a lot of risks. He knew their backs were against the wall, and if he was conservative, this team would not win out and get to the playoffs. So he was already taking a lot of risks. But now with Myles Garrett not there, Baker Mayfield is going to have to carry this team and will them single-handedly all the way to the playoffs. Yeah, he'll have some help from Nick Chubb, and if the defense can keep playing like they did without Myles Garrett, he's going to have a little bit of help, but it's a quarterback driven league. I've said that in my past videos, and I stand by that point. Everybody knows that the defenses are so good in today's NFL that if your quarterback doesn't get hot down the stretch, it's so tough to win in the National Football League. And now Baker Mayfield has to, take on even more responsibility. And to be honest, it just goes to show how much one bad decision can absolutely doom a football team. The Cleveland Browns are not winning out with Myles Garrett unless Baker Mayfield pulls some, remember when Aaron Rodgers went on that run and got the Packers in the playoffs? It's going to have to be even better than that. And that was one of the best runs I've ever seen to get a team in. Cleveland's not doing it. Their season's over. Myles Garrett, there was 8 seconds left in the game. And you won the game. You had all this good momentum and all this good fortune coming your way because everybody was upbeat. You guys seem to find your identity, but all of that was thrown away because of one bad decision, because because Myles Garrett lost his cool and ripped Mason Rudolph's helmet off and hit him with it. It's just a bad decision in a game that the Cleveland Browns had already won. So I don't know how it got to that, but now the Browns season is over. I'm John Kuzma. Check out endzoneblog.com.